Let me ask you about Camilla, someone who you know very well. She has moved across the spectrum since she became the wife of the Prince of Wales. Tell me about her. I guess you could call it a rehabilitation in terms of her public image.
It's absolutely extraordinary, from outcast to future Queen Consort. She absolutely was an outcast. It was very clumsy in a way, because she met Charles when they were very young. He was 22, she was 24. She wasn't, as they say, a pure woman, and it was very difficult. He was unsure whether or not he should marry her, and in the end, Lord Mountbatten, his great uncle, sent him off on a long trip with the Navy, hoping that it would all die away. And she decided to marry Andrew Parker Bowles because she was brought up not to have a career. Andrew Parker Bowles was very unfaithful to her. And then eventually, the Diana marriage should never have happened. That was a combination, a coalition of the Queen Mother and Diana's grandmother, Lady Fermoy. They worked it out together, but nobody mentioned that Diana was already self-harming, that she was very disturbed by her mother leaving her when she was 6, and her father, an aristocrat, not being interested in childcare. So she came from a very difficult background. So that didn't work. They had nothing in common. And in the end, Camilla was his platonic friend for some years. In the end, he needed her very much indeed, and they separated and they got back together. And it's very funny because when she became his wife, she thought that maybe she would do 1 or 2 visits to a charity, and the rest of the time reading. She loves reading. And gradually she learned that actually the more she did, the more she wanted to do.
Did the Queen like Camilla from the start? I expect not.
No, the Queen really liked Camilla, because when she was married to her first husband, they would go up to Balmoral and talk horses and racing, and they have a lot in common, horses and dogs being 2 of the things that they really like. She liked her very much. What she didn't like was the fact that she and Charles got together, because you could not have the wife of the heir to the throne who wasn't pure.
Right.
So that was the problem, and she refused to speak to her for years, and it must have been very difficult for Camilla to deal with that. And because Diana was so popular, people blamed her for her death.
She was living in this long shadow of Diana, right? And really could never emerge from that, it seemed. And yet she has. And I'm curious about what you think that was. Was it just the steady, constant presence and the charity work, and people began to embrace?
I think it was a few things that the Queen did see and really approved. One was her sense of duty to the country and the Commonwealth. One was what huge change that she's made to Prince Charles, who was often very sullen and unhappy and quite irritable. He's comfortable in his own skin. He knows that she's there to support him, which the Queen admired hugely, that she put him first above all things. And that was the first time he'd felt really confident that someone was there with him. And the other was that she really was trying to help people who were in difficult situations. The Queen had always wanted people to do charitable work, and there she was working incredibly hard. She works as hard as Prince Charles, which can be 5 engagements a day, non-stop. I mean, she was in Canada, and they did in 3 days, they travelled thousands of miles, went all over the place. It's quite a lot for people in their 70s. But, she will do it with him because she thinks that's right. And she loves the country. And I think that the combination of that has made the Queen realise that actually she's good. And she's never spoken. She's never complained. The Queen's always said, don't explain, don't complain. And Camilla has never really explained what she felt and what she does feel. She's just gone on with it and quietly built up a very good image for herself.